One day, as usual, the police stopped a vehicle for a routine inspection. Pete was a newly recruited drug dealer. When he handed over his driver's license, his hands were trembling badly. The officer immediately noticed how nervous he was. He asked to check what was inside the cargo compartment. At that very moment, the driver of a white sedan pulled up and asked the officer for directions. The officer had no idea these men were violent traffickers. The next second, he was suddenly surrounded. Faced with so many guns pointed at him, he did not dare to move. The traffickers knocked him unconscious. Then they took him away along with his patrol car. They turned onto a narrow dirt road. Soon, they found an opening leading into the wilderness. They planned to take the officer somewhere remote and silence him for good. At the same time, Emma was driving home and had to pass along that same dirt road. Her car suddenly stalled. With no other choice, Emma stepped out to check. She noticed smoke rising from the hood. After inspecting it, she realized the radiator was leaking. She tried to call for help, but the area was too remote, and there was no cell signal. Just as she stood there unsure what to do, a gunshot echoed in the distance. Emma immediately sensed this was not a safe place to stay. She grabbed a glass bottle and headed toward the nearby hills to look for water. Before she had gone very far, she spotted several men standing in the distance. She was about to shout for help, but something felt wrong. The man leading them was Bossman, the head of the group. The moment he saw Emma, he ordered his men to grab her. Emma ran as fast as she could, but she had barely made it any distance before Bossman's men caught her. After witnessing their brutality, Emma did not dare scream again. Facing these ruthless criminals, she curled up on the ground, afraid to make any sudden move. Just then, the officer lying nearby slowly regained consciousness. The bullet had only hit his shoulder. He quietly signaled for Emma to stay silent, while the criminals were distracted by her. He slowly moved toward his patrol car. Meanwhile, the gang began eyeing Emma with bad intentions. Boila walked toward her. Emma begged desperately, but he remained unmoved. He dragged her away toward a nearby water trough. Then he cuffed her to it. When Boila went off to chase the officer, he accidentally dropped his knife on the ground. Bossman fired several shots but failed to hit the officer. Frustrated, he retrieved his sniper rifle from the vehicle. He ran off, searching for a better vantage point. After finding a suitable position, he quickly set up the rifle. At the same time, Emma spotted a belt lying nearby. Inside the belt pouch, she found the key to the handcuffs. She unlocked herself. Then she picked up the fallen knife. She circled around in the opposite direction and returned to her car. From the trunk, she grabbed a large backpack. Inside were hiking supplies. She understood that if she stayed on the dirt road, Bossman's men would easily catch her with their vehicles, so she headed into the wilderness instead. Meanwhile, Boila ran back and was furious to discover that Emma had escaped. The others grew anxious as well. They feared she would report them to the police. When Bossman heard the news, he was enraged. He ordered 2 men to drive along the dirt road. Another 2 were sent into the wilderness. Bossman and Pete stayed behind to wait. At that moment, Emma was hiding. She was still trembling with fear, but she knew that if she wanted to survive, she had to stay clear-headed. She began sorting through her supplies. Anything unnecessary was thrown away. Meanwhile, one of the men, Baz, found Emma's car. Inside, he discovered her driver's license. He realized she was not local and likely unfamiliar with the terrain. Following the footprints she had left behind, he concluded she had fled into the wilderness. He believed they would catch her soon. What they did not know was Emma's background. Her father had once been an elite reconnaissance soldier. By the time she was 16, he had taught her everything he knew. Her ability to calm herself so quickly came from years of his training. She deliberately created 3 sets of footprints in different directions to confuse them. If they followed the wrong trail, she would gain valuable time. When Bossman and his men saw the 3 trails, they were surprised by her cleverness. To be safe, they split into 3 teams. Bossman ordered them to report immediately if they found her. At that moment, Emma discovered a small pond. She filled her bottle with water. Then she added purification powder. Before she could even take a sip, Boila and Jay found her. Jay wanted to radio the others, but Boila stopped him. Determined to make up for his earlier failure, he decided to deal with Emma himself. He told Jay not to inform Bossman for now. Boila quietly approached Emma as she drank. From behind, he aimed his gun at her. At that moment, Emma was completely vulnerable. Boila stared at her with cruel excitement. He ordered her to take off her clothes. Emma's pleas were ignored. When she did not move, he raised his hand and struck her. When Jay walked back to check on the situation, he only saw Emma by the pond. He did not see the body lying on the ground. He called out to Boila over the radio. After several attempts, there was no response. Bossman asked Jay what was going on. Jay truthfully reported everything that had just happened. After hearing this, Bossman ordered Jay to eliminate Emma immediately. Emma overheard the command through Boila's radio. She instantly went back into survival mode. When Jay approached with his gun, he saw Boila's lifeless body and felt sick to his stomach. By then, Emma had reached a hillside. It was a perfect location for an ambush, but her core goal was survival. Not taking down every single trafficker, she used the radio to warn them, trying to persuade them to stop chasing her. Instead, she heard Bossman swear that he would capture her no matter what. When Jay reached the base of a rocky cliff, he noticed that the footprints suddenly disappeared. Before he could react, a rock came crashing down from above and struck him. Seeing that Jay was no longer moving, Emma prepared to leave. She climbed down from the cliff, but Jay was not dead.
No! Hey, Jay!
After hearing a gunshot, Bossman repeatedly called out to Jay. The only voice that answered was Emma's. At that moment, she fully transformed from prey into hunter. Just as Emma was about to rest for a moment, the traffickers caught up again.
Osman.
When she spotted an abandoned farmhouse at the foot of the hill, she quickly formed a plan. At this point, of the 4 men besides Bossman, the other 3 were beginning to feel unwell. Pete was even vomiting. They suspected it was from drinking the pond water earlier. As Emma reached the farmhouse, Pete saw her. Bossman stayed behind with the sniper rifle, providing covering fire. The other 3 rushed down the hill. As long as Emma exposed herself, Bossman was confident he could take her out with a single shot. After scanning the area, Emma finally identified a safe escape route. from her hiding place to that particular room. The path remained within Bossman's blind spot. Since the farmhouse had multiple buildings, the three men decided to split up. Not far away, Pete suddenly let out a scream. He had triggered one of Emma's traps. Emma jumped down from a higher position. Timid and shaken, Pete did not dare go inside. He stood at the doorway shouting. Receiving no response, he finally stepped in. Emma had already been waiting in the shadows. The already frightened Pete began begging for mercy. He claimed he had a family to support, and that he had been forced into this line of work. Emma, still holding onto her compassion, actually let him run. She told him not to look back and to leave quickly, but the moment Pete stepped outside, he betrayed her. Emma no longer hesitated. Soon after, Pete let out a cry. He had been struck by one of Emma's thrown blades. Outside, Bossman grew increasingly anxious. His radio calls received no reply, so he went to check himself. At this point, of Bossman's 3 remaining men, only Baz was still alive, and he was feeling seriously unwell. With her position exposed, Emma moved into another building. After hearing movement, Baz quickly turned off his radio.
Baz.
Cunning and opportunistic, Baz managed to ambush Emma. He tackled her to the ground. Emma clawed at his nose, injuring him. As Baz stood up to examine the wound, Emma grabbed a wooden stick and struck back. Baz threatened her, ordering her to lie still. At that moment, Emma provoked him. She mocked him for being afraid to fight a woman. Confident and prideful, Baz tossed aside his handgun, choosing to fight her up close. Emma seized the gun from the ground and prepared to leave, but the moment she stepped outside, Bossman had her in his sights. All it would take was one pull of the trigger, and she would be finished. In that situation, Emma had no real advantage, but Bossman's arrogance got the better of him. He wanted to test who was faster on the draw. He lowered his sniper rifle and switched to a handgun. At the edge of life and death, Emma remained calm. They fired at the same time. The young woman lunged aside, avoiding a fatal hit. Bossman was not so fortunate. He was struck in the chest. In the end, Bossman paid with his life for underestimating her. With the training her father had given her and her extraordinary courage, Emma defeated the entire group. Her transformation was undeniable. At first, she held onto restraint, only wanting to protect herself and plead for mercy, but when pushed to the brink, she chose to fight back decisively. Every move she made was not an act of aggression, but a last resort when there was no path left to retreat. The traffickers represented the darkest side of human nature: greed, cruelty, and a disregard for life. Their fate was the result of their own choices. Emma's actions were not reckless violence. They were a defense of justice. Only by standing up and fighting back, by protecting one's own boundaries and dignity, can a person truly take control of their life.